next session. And title is The Landlord Life Strategies for Investing in Rental Properties. We have Tiffani Hawes CEO, real estate closing attorney, the Hawes Law Firm. Jude Bernard, who's the CEO of JJBP Properties and founder of the Brooklyn Bank. And we have Dedric and Krystal Polite, and they're the founders of Be Polite Properties.
I read a book. It was the title of it was How to Buy Real Estate with No Money Down and Get Cash Back at Closing. And I've actually bought a triplex like Jude in Boston, Massachusetts. I got 100% financing, and I actually got a check back at closing for $1,200 when I bought it. So using leverage, using the bank's money, that's how I bought my first property. I lived in one unit, rented out the other two, was able to, pretty much almost live rent free, and I still own that property to this day. It has amazing equity and amazing cash flow.
So you both speak about doing this. You, the Polites in 2007, and you, Jude, back in 1998, 1997. Right now, the real estate market is different. And so some of these deals that we were able to get back then, do you think that homeowners, if they can get the financing, are they going to have the availability of homes to be able to start their investment process like you were back then? We'll start with the Polites.
Yeah, I think that, depending on where you're at, right? If you're in Brooklyn, the market's going to be different than where we are in Burlington, North Carolina versus Chicago. So it really depends where you're at. But like Jude said, I would go after a multifamily property if you're looking for investment, where you get a duplex, a 3-unit or a 4-unit. You live in one unit, you rent out the other ones, and allow someone else to help pay your mortgage. And again, leverage other people's money, which is the bank's money, so that you don't have to come out with $100,000, $200,000 out of pocket. You're actually using leverage, which is the bank's money, and you get a low down payment.
Jude, currently in our market now, how are people able to actually not only get the financing, but find the properties available to start?
I just want to touch base on the question that you just said real quick. Tomorrow, they'll be looking at today as back then.
Yes.
So you got to, you can't, it's never the right time. It's always expensive and it's always high. But 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, what you thought was high is actually going to be considered to be low.
Right.
I just sold a property. No, I didn't just sell. I sold it in 2018. I sold the property for $3 million, and everybody thought it was, couldn't believe that the price that I sold it for. And the same property that I sold for $3 million, and everybody thought it was just so high. The person I sold it to just sold it for 4.1. So, and now I'm saying that's crazy. And then 5 years from now, the person who will be selling it for $5 million will, So you gotta get out of that mindset of thinking now is expensive. It's just the way the game is. And in regards to how to find deals right now, relationships. You have to speak to everyone. Everyone has to know what it is that you do. Everybody has to know that you're qualified to do it. Everybody has to know that you are resourceful and you will think of, that you will think of ways to get deals done. And they also have to know that you will take care of them. So I've been in this game for 20 plus years. I still don't have a business card. I still don't have a website. But yet I consistently do, 7 to 8 figures a year in transactions. And that's basically just through cultivating relationships. Everybody from the nosy neighbor across the street to the bodega owner, to the people at the laundromat, the plumbers who are going into these buildings, the electricians, the contractors, the mail person who might tell you who's getting these red notices all the time. Right. So that would be my suggestion on how to find deals in 2022, 2032, and 2012. talk to people.
All right, so the polite, Jude speaks on, him forming these relationships via word of mouth, just talking to people that are in his presence. Are those the same ways that you guys go about building these relationships, or do you guys utilize things like social media? Because our audience are probably filled with tons of young people who, we no longer make these personal relationships. All of our relationships are made via online. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I would definitely say a lot of it is speaking to people. We get a lot of deals done through social media because they're constantly sending us properties. And that started from us telling people what we do, right? We would tell people, hey, listen, we're looking for properties here. We're looking for properties there. But we also do our own marketing to drum up these leads as well. So we do a lot of grassroots, driving for dollars, calling individuals. That also drums up a lot of leads for us as well. But it all started by us telling people, hey, listen, this is what we do. So even when we had 9-to-5s, and people would say, hey, what do you do for work? It was, we're real estate investors. So by doing that, that's what we became known as, even in the beginning from day one. And that's how people looked at us. So it started with the, hey, listen, well, I know someone who is going through foreclosure or looking to sell. So yeah, he is correct. We do a lot of talking, but we also do some grassroots marketing campaigns as well.
And you brought up something super important that I was actually going to get ready to bring up. One of the biggest things when it comes to investing in real estate, number one is capital, is money. And we kind of touched on the financing part of it, but a lot of people know, did you just come into purchasing properties with investment money? Did you have 9-to-5s? How did you fund, your first property, whether you put 3.5% down or 5% down? Where did you get this money from? Would you encourage people just to put everything out there, quit their jobs and go after this investing in real estate? Or what is your strategy? Because the people want to know, like, step 1, step 2, step 3, how do I begin?
Yeah, I can answer that one. First of all, don't quit your day job. Do not quit your day job to start investing in real estate. Because you need to have an income coming in.
Right.
So we both had jobs in corporate America when we got started in real estate investing. And like my wife said, most of the deals that we bought initially were off market. We focus on off market deals. So I would say you don't need $1 million to start investing in real estate.
Right.
You don't need a ton of money. I know a lot of the gurus say that, but you really don't. It really takes a specialized knowledge to be able to find deals, fund them, and then fix them up and either sell them or rent them out. So again, you don't need a ton of money. What we did is we started out doing something called wholesaling. And basically wholesaling is getting a property under contract and then selling that contract to another investor who's going to close on it and you making a fee in that process. So we did that a bunch to get that initial cash to start buying our own flips and rental properties. So that's how we got started.
Jude?
One of the strategies that I still use to this day is I partner up wherever possible. I sometimes put these pools of friends and family together and give them a little piece of the action where they're making much more than the 1 or 2% that they would in the bank, and they have a vested interest in seeing the success of the project. So even if they're only into the project for 2% of the return, but they're putting up 10% of the money. It works out beautifully, because not only do I get the money, not only are they getting a better return than they would somewhere else, but now if I need someone to let the plumber in one day, I don't have to get out of bed. I have somebody else who has a vested interest in the property and who wants to see it succeed, who can do it as well.
Okay, so great. So, we've discussed how to get the financing, different ways. You mentioned your student loan refund checks. Boy, did we love those checks when they were coming in when we were in college. You were just a little bit smarter than us, because I was spending mine on things I didn't have any business spending on. How can we help our attendees understand the value of investing in real estate and how that can contribute to our personal net worth and to closing the Black wealth gap. And tell us, what is this Black wealth gap? Krystal?
So I would definitely say some of the ways that we've learned to leverage this real estate and create generational wealth for our kids is by buying and holding a majority of all of our properties, right? Including even our flips. They're done just for us to build capital to take more properties down. But in doing this, it has definitely changed the trajectory of generations to come after us, right? You can get rich by flipping, you can get rich by wholesaling, but you get wealthy by what you hold. And you're able to take an interest in it different ways. Like, what are some of the methods we're using?
Yeah, I mean, so of course, real estate is a foundation for wealth, right? How's
Right.
wealth created? Owning stocks, owning businesses, and owning real estate. It's been proven over thousands of years. So like my wife said, some of the benefits of real estate is cash flow, right? You get cash flow from renting out your property, paying the expenses, and anything left over is your cash flow, which you can use to support your lifestyle. You make money from appreciation, which is, buying a property for $200,000, and you hope that 5 years later it'll be worth $300,000, right? Every year you expect it to go up in value. So cash flow appreciation, and then you get a ton of tax benefits. The tax code is written for entrepreneurs and investors. So there are tons of tax benefits, such as depreciation, that's going to save you money on your taxes by owning real estate and rental properties.
Okay, and so you both mentioned creating wealth is by buying and holding these properties. So buying and holding them and renting them out to potential renters. As we know, we've gone through this huge COVID pandemic when people were losing their jobs and unable to pay rent. So that we know that there are some highs and some lows when it comes to investing in real estate. Jude, how have you been able to, because you buy and hold as well, how have you been able to make it through the pandemic and still buying and holding is more important to you than possibly flipping?
Well, it's funny because I have my method is sell one, keep two. So for every one that I flip, I end up keeping two of them or acquiring two more. So I use that one for the cash so I could buy the next two. In regards to your question, I've been blessed because the majority of my properties are in downtown Brooklyn, and they're very high rent roll properties, and I can only speak about myself personally. The majority of my tenants were not impacted by COVID in the sense that they just started working from home. My tenants did not lose their jobs. They weren't, restaurant workers or people like that. I deal, the majority of my tenants are, architects and attorneys and things of that sort. And they were basically able just to turn that, that den into the workspace. And I was able to keep getting my rents. There were a few tenants that I had in the beginning where I got ahead of it, and I went and I spoke to them, and we made arrangements where like we would reduce the rent until we figured out what was what, and then we would and then they paid it back later on. So I think one of the key things that people always have to do is be conscious and be very communicative with their tenants, so that they know that you're not you're a person just like them, waiting on that money to do what you have to do, So you're not the money bags guy from Monopoly.
Right.
So Dedric and Krystal, were y'all as strategic in locating the properties that you were deciding to hold for the type of renters that you wouldn't have to necessarily worry about, or are you just going after any properties that are a good deal and holding those?
Yeah, no. So we are very strategic with the properties that we buy and hold versus the ones that we're either going to quick flip, which is wholesale off, or we're going to flip. Typically, for a single family house, we want to be able to get it within a certain area, typically near major universities, downtown areas, ones that we know we can typically short-term rental, turn it into a short-term rental. Other ones are multifamilies. So we don't wholesale off or sell any multifamilies of ours. All of those are buy and holds. As far as
mobile home parks.
Mobile home parks as well. We do, as far as COVID, even for us, we didn't really get hit that hard. I think
we had a few hiccups with COVID.
I would say mainly in our Massachusetts. So we're originally from Boston, Mass. So we do have the rental at 3-family there. I would say that was the only one that was impacted the most as far as tenants. That one became a headache because you're dealing with this big city.
Tenant friendly.
So that one
blue
was
state. A blue state.
Absolutely.
Yeah. With the tenant wasn't able to pay for because of COVID, but we were able to get reimbursed by the government funding some of the COVID relief funding. So we still got a check to make up that back rent that
like
that tenant
a year later.
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't want people to think that being a landlord is all unicorns and rainbows.
Right.
It's not. There is some work involved in it, but if you have the right systems in place and the right procedures, and you treat it like a business, it can be very lucrative in the long run.
So you speak of right systems and procedures. Typically, we have these systems and procedures because something went wrong, and we don't want that thing to go wrong again. So what are some of the common pitfalls or mistakes that you've encountered in your journey to investing in all this real estate that you do invest in?
Yeah, one of the common ones is, when you buy a property, typically we're buying properties at a discount, right? We're never paying retail. We're paying 50, 66 cents on the dollar. So with those, what we do now, and we learned, is we go in and we make repairs when we first buy the property. So what some new landlords may do is just buy it, rent it out, and try to make some money and then try to fix it up later. That can lead to a lot of service calls and repair calls and costs. So what we do, whenever we buy a property that needs work, we fix it up, we remodel it, and get it in a really nice condition right away, so that long term you have less maintenance and repair costs on that property.
Jude?
One of the things that I started doing the last couple of years is to figure out what my holding cost is, right? What does this property cost me every day? And to make sure that my rents and the time that I use is in alignment. Let me just clear that up. Basically, if you're in real estate, you're in the business of selling time for land. So if every day not rented is a day that you'll never recover. It's not like it's not like you have that you're selling widgets, and if you don't sell the widget today, you'll sell it tomorrow. Like, once you didn't get rent for today, it's gone forever, and you'll never lose, and you'll never get that back. So keeping in mind that I know exactly how much does this property cost me every day. That's the interest, that's the taxes, that's the insurance, all those things. How much do I need to secure every day? And that's basically my rents divided by 30 days and so forth. So I do that math, and it's ingrained in my head. When I'm making decisions about expenses, when I'm making decisions about repairs, which contractor to use, it's always ingrained in my head. Hey, I need to cover X amount of dollars today, and is what I'm doing today going to push that number forward or backwards? So that's my strategy.
I think those are definitely key strategies because we all make mistakes. Like we said, residential real estate, it looks great. It looks great flipping it. Y'all are on a television show, The Polite, and it looks amazing. It looks like something that we all can do. But with the cost of expenses and lumber and just all the different things that can come up, you definitely have to make sure that you are prepared and you are ready for those pitfalls, because they're definitely going to come. So for these people, that are here attending this seminar, we've given them key nuggets on how to start. Like, what is your first property? How do you get the financing for that? What are other strategies and resources? Once they acquire that first property, how are we moving on to the second, to the third? Y'all do multi-million dollars worth of real estate yearly. How are we progressing, and how are we going to teach the attendings how they can progress after they've purchased their first property?
Go
ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You can go ahead.
What I would always tell people, I have this thing I call TAC, right? And TAC is time, access, cash, credit, knowledge, right? And you might have cash, you might have credit, but you don't have time or you don't have access. So you have to partner up with somebody to get that. So it's super important that you put systems into place so that you can succeed. And it doesn't happen overnight. You need a strong lawyer, you need a strong contractor, you need an electrician, you need a property manager, you need bird dogs to find your properties. All these things, all these relationships happen in time. And with TAC, time, access, cash, credit, knowledge, and if you have cash, credit, and knowledge and you don't have access, you need to find somebody or some way to get access. So.
Yeah, what I would add. Yeah. So what I would add to that is get educated, right? Find a mentor, find a coach, someone in your city, or even someone in another city that's doing what you want to do. Maybe they own a portfolio of rentals. Maybe they're flipping houses and you want to flip houses. Make sure they have receipts where they can show that they're actually doing it actively, not someone who flipped a house 10 years ago and they haven't flipped the house since, or you know what I mean? But find someone. That's what we did. We found mentors and coaches and we paid them for their knowledge, right? Because they were doing it actively and they were still in the business. So find those people, learn, get educated, find a mentor, and then take action, right? Don't be a entrepreneur, or don't be someone that's kind of has analysis paralysis where you just analyze everything for days and months and years, but never take action. So get educated, find a mentor, and then take action.
I think that is just wonderful advice and good resources for those who are interested in investing in real estate. I know myself, my first time investing in real estate was back in 2007 with you guys, Dedric and Krystal. We bought our first house, 100% financing. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath townhome. Now that we rent out, we didn't sell it. That was our first time. So just getting access to that first property sometimes will catapult you and give you that basis of knowledge for you to move on to the next step. So just aligning yourself with people, aligning yourself with the proper resources, being smart, strategic, and focused on investing in real estate if this is something that you want to do. So we are running. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hey, Tiffani, you left one part out that you purchased in 2007, and then in 2008, the world fell apart.
Right.
I was going to say
that part.
And you stuck it out, and it all worked itself out in the long run. So you left part of the story out.
And I think that was a good topic to bring up. Real estate always works itself out. It always works itself out. When we did that, back then they were giving that 100% financing. So everybody was purchasing properties. Everybody had that opportunity. People were doing it left and right. And then the whole economy burned down, right? But when we purchased our first property, we bought it at like $80,000. So we didn't start high. We actually started really low. So we were still able to pay that rent on that home in the event our renter could not have. But yes, real estate has its ebbs and flows. And right now, as you guys probably know, it's a seller's market. And so, you guys focus on buying and holding, but a lot of people are unloading their properties right now to get that instant equity, because we are seeing our properties grow in equity like no other time before. So with that being said, in our current market, what are a few takeaways? We'll start with you, the Polites first, and then we'll move to Jude, that you want our attendees to take away with our current market and them investing in real estate.
So as far as takeaways on a macro level, it's hard to say there's a national U.S. housing market because really every housing market is different. From Brooklyn to Atlanta to North Carolina is different. So you really have to look at the demographics of your particular market. But on a macro level, you have a few things that are going on. Supply is still super low nationwide. There's a very little supply of houses and there's high demand. So what happens? Prices go up. We've seen that over the past 3 or 4 years. I think the supply is going to start to increase. So you're going to start to see prices stabilize, not crash, but they're going to start to stabilize. Then the other big thing that's happening right now is interest rates are rising. So as interest rates go up, house prices are going to stabilize because, buyers can afford less of a house. So I think that's a good sign for people who are looking to buy to get into the market. The appreciation won't be so great, so they may have a better chance of actually getting into a property. But those are a few things to be aware of.
But I would also add to that, start to learn how to source your own deals, right? So we don't buy anything on market. And we've gotten to where we are because we learned how to source our own direct to seller off market deals. So that comes into play when you say, hey, learn before you earn. We learned from people who were doing this at a high level how to do this ourselves. So a majority of our deals, 99.99% are all off market, right? So that's also very crucial with trying to get in today's market because we've looked at multifamily deals on market and it's a bidding war for basically any and everything.
Wow. So where can people find you online? Where can they see you? How can they be educated by you, Dedric and Krystal?
Yeah, so we're actually starting an education and coaching program coming up in the next couple of months. So if you just search Be Polite, all things Be Polite, you can find us. We're also on television, stars of 50/50 Flip, which is a home renovation show that follows Krystal and I as we flip houses in our hometown of Burlington, North Carolina. There's also a twist to it. We're not just flipping, because you guys know our main strategy is buy and hold. So we actually remodel and keep a lot of those properties as rentals as well. So that TV show 50/50 Flip airs every Saturday on A&E Network.
At 12 p.m.
Right, Jude.
Standard Time.
Congratulations, guys. And Jude, where can they find you and what is your takeaway?
My main takeaway is that, especially in this market, to wait for your pitch. Too many times people are out there, they're just chasing the deals and they just want to do something and the numbers don't add up or they just want to get into something. I always tell people, wait for your pitch, make sure the numbers work, make sure the numbers work for you. Just because it's a great deal at $200,000 for somebody else doesn't mean it's a great deal at $200,000 for yourself, because you don't know what somebody else's finances are like and what they could afford to carry or profits that they're bringing in from other deals and stuff like that, or how much of a margin that they can afford as opposed to you. Secondly, I would tell people to always be conscious of the fact that you make money when you buy property, not when you sell it. It's when you're buying it. So to make sure that whenever you're going into a deal, you're buying right, and then you keep the profits by getting good contractors, good tenants and things of that nature to make sure that you're not bleeding money in the interim of your holding period.
Can we find you online, Jude?
Oh yeah, I'm on IG, ranting and raving every day at Mr. Jude Bernard on IG. I run a nonprofit called the Brooklyn Bank that I hold night school once a month, where I basically invite people in the community to come in and learn a little bit about real estate, stocks, entrepreneurship, and all other finances. All things finances. So you could also find me at the Brooklyn Bank.
All right, well, you guys, I think this was a wonderful panel discussion. I don't know who better we could have gotten to educate our attendees on what they can do, what strategies they can have for investing in rental properties. I appreciate you guys for coming here, having this discussion with me. I think I learned a few things. So I'll make sure that I definitely tune in to you guys on your show. And Jude, I'm coming to follow the Brooklyn Bay.
Look forward to having you.
Thanks, Tiffani.
Thank you, Tiffani.
Bye, guys. No